Hello again, students. So I want to go over real quick your document analysis assignment that you have for this week, just to give you a little bit of perception, a perspective as to where you should be at or what you're going to be on this, okay? So I'm going to assign you one of three articles. You do not have to read all three. You only have to pick one of the three articles. And those are either The Cross of Gold by William Jennings Bryan, probably one of the most famous political speeches that was given near the end of the 19th century in the United States. You have The Dominant Function of the Church by D.D. Gladden. This is more about social gospel movement and the evolution of how people see how the church should work in society. And then lastly is What Does It Mean to Be Colored in the Capital of the United States by Mary Church Terrell, where a woman talks about how there should be greater equality in the United States and how that equality looks like actually in our nation's capital. So pick one of those three, you're going to read through it, and then what you're going to do is the following. You're going to actually analyze what they are doing. So their intent, their rationale, the audience, who they're trying to persuade with this document, who their core audience is. And you're going to look at those different aspects from a historian's perspective. What do I mean by this? This is really a point where we move away from we are reading a document and then we're giving a personal opinion on it. Instead, we're looking at it, how would a historian pick up one of these documents? When they're looking at this document, how would they be using this as they're trying to interpret a portion of history? They need to know the background of the document. Where was it delivered? Who was speaking? Where was it being? Where was this speech being given? Or who was the audience it was directed at? Was it effective? Did it influence people? Did it change policy in the United States? Did it inspire somebody else? So that's what you're doing with this document, is simply giving me that information. You're going to look at it, you're going to break it down, and then you're going to analyze it historically as how it was historically significant or insignificant. It's up to you for you to decide on that front. And then one way to also put it is, how would a historian use this document? Where would they put it? What would they position it in? Would it be in a paper? Would it be in a book? What kind of paper? What kind of book? That's all you're doing with this one. You're not going to be giving me a personal view as if you agree or disagree with the individual, or how you felt that it reached you or inspired you. None of those things are important in this. It's simply you breaking down what the author is trying to do with the document, what they're trying to do with this speech or this letter that they may have published or the sermon that they delivered, okay? So remember that. A lot of people really get wrapped up into this, let me read through this and then give you my personal view. We don't need personal viewpoints here, okay? So make sure you're not doing that. Once you are done with it, make sure that you submit it so that your peers can see it, and then you're going to reply to two of your peers. You do not have to reply to somebody who did the same document. You can reply to somebody who did a different document. Just make sure you're giving constructive information back on it, okay? Either agree with it and explain why you agree with it, or disagree with it. Make sure that in this document too, though, that you are citing the document itself. That means you need to refer back to the document. Also, you may need to do a little additional background research to figure out who this person was and why they were giving the speech, or why they wrote what they wrote, and the climate at the time and who they were trying to influence. So make sure you are citing those sources also as well, okay? Doing all those things will ensure that you have a successful outcome in your document analysis. One thing I do know, and I note it here on the instructions themselves, but I also like to point it out again, I'm not discouraging you from doing it, okay? However, my last course, when I changed up my documents, my primary source analysis, and I put new ones up there, over 85% of my students chose what it means to be colored in the capital of the United States. That means I read that article and I read the analysis a lot, and so did your peers. Do not be afraid to take on the other documents, okay? They are all equally applicable to American history. They are all equally important to American history. Just make sure that we do have some variety out there, okay? That's all I'm asking, because, again, people really latched onto that first one, and that's all I was reading pretty much last term. Each of these really do have emotional points to them, so that is also one reason why a lot of people do latch onto that last one, because it is quite emotional and it resonates with a lot of people. But make sure you go ahead, choose which one you think works best, that you can analyze the best, and do well on it today. Make sure also that you do post it on the due date for it, all right? And then make sure that you reply to 2 of your peers, okay? All right. Well, thanks so much for taking a moment to watch this, and I will talk to you later.